The 5 lies about Thailand. Hey guys, I don't know if you know Brett Dave's channel on YouTube. Brett is another YouTube vlogger based in Thailand. He's up in Chiang Mai, and I'm in Phuket, which means like we're on the opposite ends of the country. So even though we've never met each other in person, we've talked to each other a couple of times, and he's been doing his YouTube channel probably as long as I have. And the other day I was catching up on some YouTube vloggers, and I happened across his channel, and he's got a new series. I don't know if he's called it a series, but he's doing the 5 things. He'll say 5 things about this and 5, but this one caught my eye. It said the 5 lies about Thailand and why you should not believe them. And that caught my attention because so many people, including me before I moved over here, had heard so many things about Thailand, good or bad, and I wanted to see what this video is about. So as I'm watching this video, I'm in so much agreement with him that I was amazed, but also I became the devil's advocate, because what he's saying is true, but I just wanted to interact with this video. So the only way I can do that is to actually interact with the video, show you the video, interact with it. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. This is me and my reaction to Brett Dave's The 5 Lies of Thailand.
What is up, guys? This is Brett here from brettdev.com. If you're new here on this channel, oh, fucking hell, man.
This happens so much. This bird, it follows us around everywhere.
Stop. What is up, guys? This is Brett here from brettdev.com, and on this channel I talk about life as an expat out here in Thailand. If you're not new here but you haven't subscribed yet, then make sure to click the button beneath this video, and also make sure that you check out the link in the top left corner of this screen, because that's going to be really, really helpful for you. Right, today in this video, I want to talk about 5 lies or myths that are told about Thailand. Some of these you may already know about, some you might not. Stick around to the end, because the last one is going to be a big one that I'm assuming that most of you watching this will not know about, okay? So the first lie, the first myth, the first misconception that people have about Thailand, especially before they come here, or if they've never been here, is that Thailand is dangerous, that it's somehow not safe and you need to watch out. You're going to get your stuff stolen, you're going to get robbed, and all of that stuff, okay? Thailand is... If you look at Thailand and if you can compare it on the global crime index, there's some websites online, I'll show them up on the screen. Thailand is in fact safer than the US, it's safer than the UK, and it's safer even more so than Canada, all right? Thailand is an incredibly safe country, as are a lot of the other Asian countries, okay? China's very safe, Japan's very safe. Vietnam's very safe. This misconception about Thailand being a dangerous country is exactly that. It's a misconception. I don't know where it comes from, but it's completely untrue. Petty crime is almost non-existent. People here don't have to lock their doors when they go out of their houses. If you go into a coffee shop, you can leave your laptop, you can come back half an hour later and it will still be there. I have never witnessed any type of crime in the 6 years that I have been living here, other than perhaps the odd brawl at a bar, but typically that's actually with Westerners. Of course, there are big crimes that do happen. There are murders, there are big financial crimes, all that stuff, just like what happens all over the world. But for the everyday person that's visiting or living here, crime is not something you should really be concerned about, at least not in a big way. Obviously, keep your wits about you like you would anywhere, but yeah, it's a myth, it's a lie. Thailand is not a dangerous country.
Okay, so I'm going to interject on this. He was talking about Asian countries being safe. Is absolutely correct. He did mention Japan. You will lose your umbrella in Japan if you do not lock it. I'm being the devil's advocate here. They will steal your umbrella. They won't steal much of anything else, but in Japan, umbrellas. But in Thailand, I will say this. They're very safe people. They lock their doors and they lock their cars. But the amount of theft is very, very low. However, I will say, if there was one thing that you should be aware of, is when things are party central, like in Pattaya, and you're going down walking streets or all these late night places where a lot of people might be drunk and having a good time and there's just a crowds everywhere, I have heard, and it is known, that you could have a couple of groups of people come up to you and maybe pickpocket you. But that is about the only crime that I've heard of over here. And like he said, I mean, there's some big ticket news that happens every now and then, but that's in any country, anywhere. So bravo, and I agree with this, except maybe pickpockets in Pattaya, late night drinking with a bunch of loose cannons in a bar somewhere. Just be careful of your wallet. That's the only thing I've got on that. He's absolutely right. I've left my laptop at a bar in Pattaya on the street, went back 30 minutes later, and it was there. They gave it back to me. No one took it. Crazy.
The second myth is that Thailand is a third world country. Now, this is kind of a really antiquated term, but people think that Thailand's a third world country, and when they think of a third world country, they think of extremely poor people. Now, does Thailand have a lot of poverty? Yes, of course it does. There are a lot of very poor people in Thailand, but there are also a lot of very rich people in Thailand. And a more interesting way to look at this, rather than thinking of first world, second world, third world, is through the lens of something called the Human Development Index. Okay, so this is kind of like a new way to measure countries, and it's based upon three things: life expectancy, access to education, and a decent standard of living. So if you want to know where Thailand ranks on that list, then I would strongly suggest you check out that. I'll put a link in the description. But Thailand is definitely not a third world country. Anybody that's been here will tell you that Thailand is far, far more advanced in many areas than Western countries, okay? If you go to the malls in Thailand, if you look at the high-speed internet that Thailand has, if you look at the cinemas, the movies, there's lots and lots of things that Thailand does a lot better than the West, and will actually leave you going back to the West thinking, oh my God, maybe I live in a third world country. Maybe Thailand's the actual first world country.
Okay, so Thailand being a third world country, I agree with Brett on here. The internet is superior to anywhere in the world that I've been, including America. I find that the internet here is comparable to any country that I've ever visited. The malls and the cinemas are extravagant. The hospitals are impeccable, wonderful. There's so many levels, and he said it right too. There is an extreme rich amount of people and poor amount of people, but you can go to these big cities and they'll have everything. It's incredible how non-third world it is in these areas. Now, devil's advocate, you can also drive down the road and you can stop at a restaurant on the side of the road that has no plumbing, that has no electricity, that you're sitting on plastic stools. There could be either rats, cockroaches, or a monitor lizard in the stream right next to you. So I could see how some people would say it's still a third world country in that aspect, that you, depending on where you are, I'm not talking about a restaurant in a mall. You're not going to probably see any critters in there. But you can go to a restaurant in so many places in Thailand, and it's just open. There's no government authority coming around doing a health inspection. So there are different rules. There's also no construction inspections per se, as there is like in America. I mean, people just climb scaffolding over here. So I think the third world country part might just be that, thank goodness, all of the rules, red tape, and regulations haven't caught up with everything. But as far as, and toiletries, in some of these places you're going to go out and there may or may not be any type of Western toilet or paper. It's just going to be a hole in the ground. That might be a little bit third world to you, but I agree with Brett. I just wanted to devil's advocate that one in there about third world. Moving on.
The third misconception is that every Thai woman wants to date you or hook up with you or marry you. All right. So this is thrown about usually by people that have never ever been here. And it's just this ignorant bias that some people in the West have, especially if you tell them that you're going to be going to Thailand. They think that all Thai women are basically prostitutes because of what a couple of things that they might have seen in nightlife areas, and they assume that
I'm going to cut them off right there before I forget it. the people that come over here and they think that every Thai woman will either bow down to them or accept their offer. I am personal friends with many Thai women, and they hate it when people come over here and assume that just because she owns a bar, works at a bar, or that they've met somewhere, and that's bars. I mean, there's bar girls that don't like you, period, and they don't want to go home with you, and they don't want to marry you. So I just wanted to stop right there and say, for someone to assume that all Thai women would be honored by your asking them to come over and date them, or even for a short week or two trip with them, you would be very incorrect with many women. Now, continuing.
A lot of dudes think that. A lot of dudes come here and they think that they can just hook up with any Thai girl that they want to. And that is not the case. As I said before, Thailand's a bit of a class system, and there are huge divides in the classes and the wealth that people have. A lot of Thai people, a lot of Thai females will actually have a lot more money than the Westerners that are coming here with that attitude. And to be frank, if you come to a place like where I live in Chiang Mai, and if you go to the Thai bars, to the Thai discos, you'll see what people refer to as high-so Thais, which means high society Thais, or even not high society, just regular Thais that earn regular incomes. A lot of Thais don't want to go with a foreigner. They won't come anywhere near you. They'll act like they're shy, they won't want to talk to you, but in reality, they just don't want to know you, okay? Their families don't want them to marry you, they want them to marry other Thai men. They work regular jobs, they work as bank managers, they work just like in any other society, and they're definitely not prostitutes, okay? There are a couple of small areas in Thailand that have that nightlife scene that is associated with that prostitution element and things like that, but the vast majority of Thailand, the vast majority of Thai women aren't going to hook up with you for money. On top of that, you can't buy a wife either. So this is something that I've seen like crazy feminists and stuff in the West say, oh, men go to Thailand to buy a wife. You can't buy a wife. No more so than you can buy a wife in the West by getting married and buying a house and all of that other stuff. You don't buy a wife in Thailand, and every Thai woman is not a prostitute, okay? That is absolute bullshit. With that said, that leads me on to my fourth lie and the fourth misconception that people have and maybe don't know, and that is that the Thai sex industry is built for foreigners. That is not true either, all right? You've got small areas that foreigners frequent and are the most likely people to go to, places like Pattaya and Walking Street. But what you may not know is that all over Thailand, Thailand has this seedy sex industry across the whole country, okay? In every single city, there are what are called love motels. Now, love motels are like hotels that you can go to for a short time and hook up with people, basically. And who goes to these love motels? Mostly not foreigners, it's Thais, okay? The Thai sex industry is built by Thais for Thais, okay? Thais engage in it more than the foreigners. There's even an expression in Thai called a gik. And what a gik is basically like a side chick. So a lot of Thai guys will be married and they'll have a gik, which is basically their girlfriend. The mafia would call that like your gomada, right? Or however they pronounce it. So Thais are promiscuous. Thailand is one of the most promiscuous countries in the world. I heard once it was second only to the Dutch. Now, I don't know if there's any truth to that, but there you go. It's not this whole industry and the way Thais are with their promiscuity, if that's how you pronounce it, is not built for foreigners. It was here before. The foreigners just came here and went to Pattaya and places like that.
Okay, yeah. Geek and Mia Noi. So Mia means wife. Mia Noi is your second wife, and geek is girl on the side. There's three right there. He's absolutely right. I was staying in one of these hotels about half a year ago, and there were two girls that pulled up on the weekend, got two different rooms, and that's what their job was to be the girls on the side for the weekend. And it was only Thai guys. I didn't see any other people coming in and out of the building, but I was witness to these two girls bring a lot of visitors in. But you've got wife Mia Noi, second wife, and then geek, which is girl on the side. That's the terms that were over here way before as foreigners. Once again, Brett, good
there are
education
even
there.
Websites that people have sent me that are based around this, hooking up with women and massage shops and all that are enormous and are completely based in Thai. Like, you couldn't even read it if you looked at it, all right? And you'll be blown away how many of these places exist just in a small town like this in Chiang Mai. It is incredible. It's not something I can obviously share on YouTube. Maybe hit the join button below. Come over to my Telegram group and I'll send it to you in there if you really want to see it.
You want to know the secrets?
Yeah, the sex industry is not built for foreigners, guys. It's built for Thais. Lastly, number 5, and this is the last point, the last lie, the last misconception, and that is that Thais are trying to scam you. This whole notion of being scammed that foreigners have when they come to Thailand is just crazy, like looking over their shoulder. And to be frank, it's quite embarrassing when you live here and you know that Thais actually aren't trying to scam people, and then you see people looking at the Thais like they are trying to scam them. It's quite embarrassing, to be fair, because it's like accusing people of something that they're not trying to do. Thais generally don't scam people. Thais generally don't rob from people. Thais generally don't rob from foreigners, even backpackers that are coming on holiday. There's the odd story here and there, but theft in Thailand is incredibly low. Thais believe in karma, right? So they believe that if they do something bad to you, something bad's going to happen to them. If you're worried about getting scammed in Thailand, the only people you really need to worry about are other foreigners, okay? Thais will maybe charge you an extra $1 for a t-shirt, okay? Or they might charge you an extra $2 for a taxi ride. Foreigners, on the other hand, will sell you a business that doesn't exist and take your life savings for it. So if you're worried about getting scammed when you come to Thailand, do not sweat the Thais, but keep one eye open for the foreigners, because they're the ones that are out to scam you and are out to get you.
Dude, I've seen that so many times over here. And there's so many other channels that will talk about foreigners scamming other foreigners. He hit the nail on the head. I'm just going to leave it at that. A foreigner will screw you over here financially by selling you a pipe dream and then walking away with your cash, while the pipe dream is just that. It's just a dream that falls through the cracks. However, I will say, I wouldn't call it a scam. Back in the old days, they would say there's a bunch of scamming going on. There was like a jet ski scam where you would take a motorbike or a jet ski and rent it and then bring it back, and they would find scratches on it and charge you for that. That may have happened. I don't know anyone personally that's ever happened to, but I've heard the rumors just like the rest of the world.
Just like I said at the beginning of this video, crime is super low in Thailand. You don't have anything to worry about.
The only thing I will say is I will not call it a scam. I'll call it a hustle. Tuk-tuk drivers and motorbike taxis and taxi cabs in general, like in Bangkok or Phuket and places that deal with tourism, like he said, they will up their prices for the cost of a ride or a t-shirt. And you can negotiate or you can haggle with most places, and that's part of the built-in structure of Thailand is to haggle. But I wouldn't call them scams. The only thing I've ever heard that I would have called a scam was if you took a jet ski out and when you bring it back, they turn it over and you see scratches on the bottom. I've heard that story, but I've never heard of a person that actually went through it, so I don't know if it's real or not. Okay.
That's it. That's the end of this video, guys. I hope you liked it. I thought it would be interesting. I thought it would be a bit fun, a little bit upbeat, show you 5 things that you didn't know. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out Brett's channel, subscribe to his channel, and see all the other 5 things that he talks about, which is packing a punch and getting right to the point. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, had a good time. See you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Brett, thanks so much, and I will talk to you guys later. And don't forget, if you liked it, thumbs up, subscribe to my channel as well as Brett's, but thumbs up, 2 thumbs up, because it was 2 videos in one, right? That's how we get things done over here. 2 videos in one.
Can you take this asshole back to America, please?
Goody goody. Don't forget that.